Week 9 of the NFL season starts here on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, and we have a game that a few weeks ago would have looked pretty bad on paper, but it's turned into a pretty decent game. Baltimore Ravens travel towards Miami. We are hoping, Tom, that Lamar Jackson's going to be back, but again, on paper, this looks great.
It's an interesting matchup, isn't it? Because obviously at the start of the season, prior to any games, both teams kind of had hopes of going into the playoffs and maybe even producing a Super Bowl run, albeit they weren't right at the top of the market for that. The Baltimore Ravens definitely were anticipating a long run throughout this year. That hasn't panned out, largely due to injuries on defense and obviously Lamar Jackson, who I'll get back to in a second. The Dolphins, well, they just started terribly. They were one of the worst teams in the league through the first 3 or 4 games. What happened on Sunday? I mean, where has that performance come from against the Falcons? Suddenly the offense turned up. The defense looked good. Bijan Robinson could barely run the ball for more than 2 yards a carry. It was an incredible display, and maybe Miami are back, but Lamar Jackson is the big talking point here, isn't he? Because if he starts this game, which is likely, Baltimore are going to be a big favourites to win, and maybe they can get their season back on track. And finally, did you see that the NFL is investigating the Baltimore Ravens because last week they put him down as a full participant in practice, then he missed the game, and then it subsequently came out that he actually wasn't working with the proper team. He was practicing with the scout team and therefore should have been limited. Bit of gamesmanship there, I think, from the Harbour.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that because they never get away with it. I think Kyle Shanahan's tried that in the past, and it always comes back to bite you in the backside. But look, we're hoping that Lamar Jackson plays this week. Currently, Tom, the Baltimore Ravens are 7.5-point favourites. I think there'll be quite a few people right now taking the plus 7.5 about Miami, just in case Lamar Jackson doesn't play. Because if Lamar doesn't play, then Baltimore probably still favoured, but maybe minus 1.5.
Yeah, well, it was kind of the same last week, wasn't it, against the Bears? The Ravens were 6.5-point favourites. Then suddenly Jackson was ruled out. Tyler Huntley started QB, and then they went down to 2.5-point favourites. Everyone who were on the 6.5 handicap spread for the Bears was suddenly sitting there in clover, and then the Ravens actually covered that line anyway. So, I think there will be some shrewd punting going on in the next day or two, but I think Jackson will play, and I don't think the line will actually shift that much.
No, the Bears are going to Bears. It is effectively the term because they really messed things up late on. But that was last week. Going forward to this week, as I say, the Ravens at the moment, 7.5-point favourites. The over-under is a very, very nice 50.5 points. We're expecting plenty of entertainment going on in this week's contest. And because we spoke so much about Baltimore, Tom, I'll let you go first regards to your pick. But first, Baltimore take this, right?
Yeah, I think Baltimore take this. I'd actually like to see them win this and win this well, and then go on to win a fair few more games because that division has been a little bit disappointing so far.
Yeah, indeed. But you are hoping for a Baltimore route, and in process of that, you'll be hoping that this guy does very well.
Yes, Derrick Henry is the guy I'm looking at. Only one bet on Thursday Night Football in Week 9 for me, and that is Derrick Henry over 88.5 rushing yards at 10-11. That line obviously is quite high, but Derrick Henry is one of the better running backs in the league. I'll get more to some statistics about Derrick in a second, but I do think that the traders are taking a little bit of a risk here. I think the line should be a lot higher actually for Henry, bordering 100, which I know sounds ridiculous, but if you look at this Miami run D over the season so far, they have been porous and downright terrible, to be honest with you. Now, last week, they obviously did really well to stop Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and I think the traders have reduced Derrick Henry's line because of that. But I think the Falcons just didn't turn up. I don't necessarily think that the Dolphins were way better. Kirk Cousins led that Falcons offense for the first time this season. They just didn't fire any part of that offense, really. The passing game wasn't there. The running game wasn't there. There was no play action. It was a shambles. And for all that Bijan and Tyler didn't really run on this D, I don't think you can read too much into it. So I'm hoping we get back to the fact that the Miami run defense is shocking. Derrick Henry has been given plenty more opportunities over the last 2 weeks. Baltimore have got back to Baltimore football, running the ball, giving it to Derrick Henry on first downs and second downs. Last week, he had 2 touchdowns, 71 yards as well on 21 carries. That was against Chicago. The week before, he had 24 carries for 122 yards. Derrick Henry is back. Baltimore might be back as well, and I like the over here for Henry.
Yeah, you'd like to think that Baltimore, I'm not going to say they'll win out for the rest of the season, but won't be far away from it, and they should have a pretty good end to the season, providing Lamar Jackson is back. My one worry regards to Miami and their run defense is they've been getting better And that's not to say that they're the best run defense in the league. That's to say that they were literally the worst run defense in the league to start off the season. Now, you look at Quinshon Judkins. I know he technically had a good game 2 weeks ago. He had 25 carries. He took those 25 carries for 84 yards, and he got into the end zone 3 times. But maybe Miami on the run D side of things are just tightening things up a touch.
Maybe, I hope not, but that is a possibility, especially considering the way they trended going into the last Sunday's game against the Falcons as well. So I could be wrong. Look, I could very much be wrong, but I do think Derrick Henry's going to have 20 plus carries. If Baltimore go up early, then Henry's going to get the ball even more in the latter part of this game in the fourth quarter. So I'll be hopeful that Henry can add at least 20 to 30 yards in the final 10 minutes of the game. And hopefully prior to that, he can get 50 or 60. So yeah, I like the line. I think it's fair. If he goes into 100 plus yards, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, even with me saying that, Derrick Henry was still very close to a play for me. I think he does have a big game in this, and you would hope that he can take advantage of a Miami defense who, throughout the year on a whole, hasn't been fantastic. But I'm going to go the other side of the ball. Same position. I'm going to go for Devon Achane, who's a guy that, honestly, coming into this season, I didn't really know what to make of him. But one thing we know about Devon Achane is that he catches the ball an absolute ton. He's been involved in the passing game once again this season. That's something that has never wavered whatsoever. And Tua's a big part of that. Back end of last season, he did struggle a little bit, but Tua has been looking for him again. The last 4 games, 7 catches, 6 catches, 5 catches, targets, and 7 targets. He caught 5 of them in the latest game. Now, he hasn't been the explosive Devon Achane in the receiving game that we have seen in recent years. But the Ravens aren't fantastic against receiving backs. And it's not as if they've taken on fantastic receiving backs this year. Against the Bears just last week, DeAndre Swift, he's agile, he's athletic, but you wouldn't describe him as one of the leading receiving backs in the league. He still managed to catch 2 balls for 26 yards. The week prior to that, Kyren Williams, again, he's kind of like a very good DeAndre Swift, and I'm not trying to compare the two of them, but you wouldn't say that Kyren Williams is a pass-catching back. He still caught 2 balls for 37 yards. If Devon Achane can even get close to anywhere near that amount of room, which the Ravens shouldn't be allowing, honestly, because we know what Devon Achane can do, then I think he could go very well. And look, his line isn't high whatsoever. His line is 32.5 receiving yards. I think he goes over that. I think it's going to help as well that the Dolphins should be playing from behind, Tom. So if your bet lands, I think mine will as well.
Yeah, well, Achane has been a major part of this offense, and he will continue to be that. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, Dunn. Jalen Waddle was great, I thought, on Sunday, but other than that, there wasn't much talent out wide for Tua to look at. So, yeah, Devon Achane is basically wide receiver 2, despite the fact that he is a running back. Ollie Gordon's going to get more carries on the ground, but when it comes to receiving yards, Devon Achane's the man.
Yeah, absolutely. Devon Achane, if he gets even close to 7 targets, I think he'll absolutely nuke this this sort of line. I think he could go upwards of literally 60 yards, even further than that. So big game coming up for Devon Achane. We are, looking forward to a few newer things on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We've obviously, Tom, got our Sunday podcast to come as well. We'll be doing a Breeders' Cup Classic preview this week also, and tons more Breeders' Cup content on our membership tier.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to this week. It's a hectic week for both of us. We are in Sky Sports Racing later today. That's Tuesday. And I'm back in Friday and Saturday with you, is it? So
Not
it's a busy
Friday.
week. Friday with you. Okay, I'm in Saturday as well.
No, not Friday. Listen, not Friday. Saturday.
Okay. I've just been told off. I'm like a dog. Sit. Yeah, Saturday. It's going to be a busy week. But yeah, lots of content coming up on Turf and Touchdowns. Hopefully we can get a few more winners. And final point on this matchup, the game is at 12:15 a.m. again. When it gets to Sunday, we'll be talking about usual timings. If you're in Britain, 6 p.m. games, and obviously the 1 a.m. late game. But 12:15 on Thursday night. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, you will notice I'm back in my more familiar surroundings of what I call home. I am a little bit sad that the weeks didn't coincide where I get 5 p.m. football of me being in England.
Yeah, that's a shambles from you. You've missed out on the best week.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's still to come. So we've still got that to look forward to I don't even know when that is. It's some point in the future anyway. But week 9 starts off with Thursday Night Football. Tom, your selection is?
My selection is Derrick Henry over 88.5 rushing yards at 10 to 11.
I will take Devon Achane over 32.5 receiving yards. That is also at 10 to 11. Remember to leave a like down below, leave a comment, subscribe as well if you did enjoy this podcast. As I say, we've got so much stuff coming up this week. Breeders' Cup week is always a busy one for anyone in horse racing, myself and Tom in particular. We'll have tons of content on our membership tier, and we are off to go and record our Breeders' Cup Classic preview right about now. Tom Collins, say goodbye to the people.
Go and click that Classic preview, guys. Bye-bye.